So we're doing some work with the sword tonight, and people sometimes ask, why should we work with the sword? For me, there's a few good reasons. One of the historical roots of the system is in sword work of various types, and I think that becomes quite apparent when you see some of the empty hand work. The movements are pretty much identical, more than the movements in fact, but we'll get onto that later. But on another level, even just working with the sword brings us many benefits. Just learning how to hold the sword and carry it and move with it is very good for our posture and structure, physical and psychological. So that's another good reason. And of course, once you start doing any type of movement pattern with the sword, you can start to see how it helps to loosen the body, how it develops good movement and everything else. And of course, all this figure eight stuff, or whatever you want to call it, is very applicable to empty hand work as well. The sword is also very good in terms of helping us develop our movement, because if I move towards it with the sword and you just kind of duck the head out of the way, but everything else kind of stays there. For a punch you can get away with this. What the sword shows us is that actually, I need to move the whole body. So the sword becomes a very good tool for developing whole body movement, and from there developing your positioning and how you work in your angles and everything else. As I said, this is very brief because there's a lot of stuff you can work here. But if you start looking at these sword movements, so I'm trying to show a few. So then here. If he then punches, then I'm working the same kind of movement. So that extended movement with the sword, whatever it might be, very readily maps on to empty hand movement. More than just a physical thing, because when I do this type of empty hand movement, it's almost though I'm still using the sword. It's not a punch, it's a cut. There's not a lot of stuff out on the sword, but of course if you can get to train with Vladimir or Michael or any of those guys, then that work is available. But even if you don't have access to them, just take some swords to practice, wooden ones to start with, and just start experimenting with your movement. See how you can get the whole body working, solo. See how you can get some basic movement patterns going with the sword. And then start working with a partner, just simple cuts and avoidance. And then the other person can bring the sword in and they can start responding to your movement. Of course, from there you can go on, if you've got the equipment, whatever type of sparring or fighting you want to do. So you can get into cutting work, you can get into all sorts of things. But I would really recommend, if you can, you start training with the sword.